What up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Gym Report. I'm your host, Pablo, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Brian Schultz, The Void, where we talk about the little things that don't make so much noise in the headlines, but these caught our attention. Doomsday, not a cameo fest. Cue in Dr. Evil.
Right.
Controversy around Michael premiere, the movie. That is coming up very soon, right, Brian?
April 24th? Yeah.
I cannot wait, Brian, to talk about this. Street Fighter. The on-set look, Brian sent me a YouTube video so we get sort of like behind the scenes of what's going on Street Fighter. And this is going to be a very interesting watch, I have to say. Rod Roddenberry teases big changes to Star Trek under Skydance. That's going to be interesting because Star Trek has been on the minds of a lot of individuals who have wanted to see that, I guess, come back to the big screens, but obviously it's going to be a whole new thing. And that's something that we've talked about in the past, about it having to be a whole new thing and going back to basics in terms of going where no man has gone before and sort of keeping us in that realm. Netflix, Man on Fire trailer. That looks good.
Yep.
And when we talk, that looks, Universal extends theatrical windows from what to what. We'll talk about that. And Mario Galaxy tracking for a massive box office opening. And then we'll get into also what we're watching. But I saw a trailer the other day, Brian, that I want to sort of get your take. I didn't know this movie was coming out, and it's a Guy Ritchie film.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes. So, Doomsday. Who said what, and what do you think about this, I guess, proclamation that this is not a cameo fest?
I love it. The reason why this went into the void and not into a Marvel roundup was we were always looking for auditions. We're always looking for auditions for the Hype Man Award, right? Officially, James Gunn has the title for his Flash overhype. But look, I mean, we know one of the big fears, questions, and concerns around Avengers Doomsday is just the sheer volume of characters that seem to be in the movie. Therefore, how can you construct a cogent storyline without it being somewhat bogged down by cameos? Well, Lewis Pullman, of course, plays Sentry in the Thunderbolts, spoke with Empire Magazine, and he tries to push back against the fears. Let's see how he does here. Quote, "It's going back to the serum of human archetypes that our art is built off of. Every character has their moment that builds the dimensions of them. The Russo brothers did that so well. They do not want anyone just sitting in the background. They really took to heart the responsibility of having some of the best actors in the world all together. There's a lot of really exciting pair-ups that happen." That's interesting. A lot of fans will be really excited. It's so fun to dream about. What if A and B work together? Would B and D work together? You get to see a lot of those fantasies come into fruition, end quote. So that is directly trying to say every character has purpose in this film. There's nobody that's just there to say hi.
That's hard to believe.
Yep.
I think out of all the people that have said their piece in terms of what this movie will do to our brains, this one is the more interesting, right? Because
Professor Pullman, that's what this felt like. He was kind of giving us a lecture on this. This is not the pure hype.
Listen, I've said this before. I'll say it again. The Russos are the ones that have been as the closest to this IP as far as the successes that it's had. They are familiar with the stories behind what we've seen and have praised and have applauded in theaters. So them contriving a storyline that I believe that is possible only through their minds because of their association with it. I think they have the I think the resources and the minds to pull it off. It's hard to believe that they will because of all that's going on. But to say that this is not a cameo fest is hard to believe. We shall see, because what's on the minds of fans is that this is going to be a cameo fest. And there are a lot of people who are fine with it. Let's see how this plays in the theater when the movie comes out.
2 points on this. One is Pullman and everyone else could legitimately feel that way, in the sense of, I am sure there was enough material written so that every character had the moment that he's talking about. I'm not convinced all of those are going to make the final cut. To get this movie down to 3 hours or 250, whatever it's going to be, it just feels inevitable that some of that writing that he's talking about is just not going to make it. And as a result, what we see might feel more like the Cameo Fest. So he could be telling us what I shot or what I saw get shot with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's not in the movie, then we can't give you credit for that, right? We don't give credit for what we see. And that's where I think the concerns stays intact. I did think his pairups thing was really interesting, though. That was one of those where I was like, he's giving you something specific there about this, like a methodology of, we're not trying to do, hey, let's put 6 together over here, 8 together. It's like a little bit more of these pairs. So then it got me to thinking, like, what pairs that we maybe haven't seen would actually be A, compelling, and B, could make some sense in the context of this story. I don't know that I have like a number one for that. I think there's the only obvious one that I could come up with was a Thor Loki reunion. That's the only like obvious one, but they've obviously been on screen together before. So then I was like, I think he's saying it more from the standpoint of the Tobey Maguire, Hugh Jackman, like that idea, right? You're taking these two iconic character and performances and saying you've never seen them side by side. I think that's what he's saying. So then I was trying to think of like, okay, well, who would that actually be that audiences would respond to and that story-wise don't feel like you're just kind of doing it to do it.
And Cap and Iron Man in that dynamic, because it's going to be different. Right. So that to me is going to be interesting to watch as well.
So it made me wonder just like how much of these scenes are truly going to be that idea of like there's actually fewer characters in the individual shots than we think almost seems inevitable.
If Shang-Chi is not in it, I cannot wait to hear what Simu Liu got. That's what, if he's not in it, that's what I'm going to be waiting to hear.
I don't think he's on my list though of like A and B and B and D. Is there anyone for him that you would be like, I'm dying to see that? I don't think so.
When I think about this movie, I don't see the reason for Shang-Chi to be in this. I really don't. What is he going to do?
Unless it's something about the rings and that thing in space. That'd be the only thing that's like untied that's out there.
That we still have no idea what it means. And like, there's so much going on in this film. Like, what does that mean in terms of the grand scheme of things for this, you know?
But see, then Pullman says that, right? And I just got to put this in there. Pullman says that. And then every day there is a rumor. We don't cover all of them. There's a rumor about so-and-so being in the movie. Every day. There was one the other day about Tatiana Maslany is going to come back and she's part of Sam Wilson's team. And I was like, great. So that team's going to be finishing last in the standings. Congratulations. Like, I mean, but I'm like, when you say that, how can you make a scene involving She-Hulk that actually has real meaning to this story? That's where I just have questions. And it's like, forget even how we felt about the show. She-Hulk just hasn't been around enough for us to care, even if the show was great. And they're like, oh, the young Avengers, we got 3 young Avengers in here. It's like, okay, great. Like, what are they going to contribute? Like,
you think I give a damn about those young Avengers, yo? I do not care, yo. Like, not one bit. When I think about greatness, they are not even in the vicinity. They are somewhere else. Like, who? What? I don't care about some of these characters. And some of these characters who happen to pop up, the question will be, will that have been a waste of my time watching the 5 minutes that I did not care about this? Whereas when we watched The Winter Soldier, Infinity War, Endgame, all the great films, Iron Man, we cared about every minute.
Yep.
We cared about every minute. So we'll see. Quote Brian, we see if he's lying. Oh, man. Michael.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently there's been a screening for this movie, and the screening was done not for the regular fans, but for the family who greenlit and said, yes, do it, let's see it, let's get it done.
So this is the estate greenlit it. So the lawyers and the people. And then the screening was for the actual family members. So 60 members of the Jackson family, extended family, was gathered into a private LA showing of the finished cut of Antoine Fuqua's Michael.
$2 billion, Brian. $2 billion, I think. But
I definitely think it's over $1 billion. I think when the tracking numbers come out, I think they're going to get revised massively higher. I think if these reviews are even decent, I don't think this needs 90% because Bohemian Rhapsody reviews were bad. I think if it's just even decent, I think this thing could be global opening weekend. Global opening weekend, $400 million, $1.25 billion. I really think that's in play when the international is like 2/3 of the total.
Michael's a global figure, man. Mm-hmm. I just don't see, and the people that grew up watching this, his story unfold right in front of our very eyes. We're going to want to see the tea. We're going to want to see what happened because this is as close to the story of Michael that we're going to get. But apparently, there was one family member that did not agree with how this portrayal went.
And it's a family member whose opinion we really care about, too.
Yeah. What happened, Brian?
I love this article. So, because they set the scene so well.
Yeah.
So insiders at the screening report, quote, the mood inside the room was electric. The relatives laughed and clapped and leaned forward in their seats as the film recreated moments from Michael's rise from child prodigy out of Gary, Indiana, to the most famous entertainer on the planet. But within minutes of the lights coming up at the end, the atmosphere shifted dramatically when Janet Jackson began dissecting the film with brutal precision.
Wow.
Quote, she had something negative about almost every scene, end quote.
Wow.
From performances to costumes to makeup. Wow. It was Janet deciding against the room this movie was not going to meet her approval. Jermaine Jackson had enough.
Of course. Yeah, of course. Of course.
So he stood up and confronted Janet and said, quote, you are going to miss this wave. You are so jealous. Just get on the wave, end quote.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what he's thinking? My movie's next. Your movie's next. The whole family, Tito, all of them. What are you talking about? Even Marlon, everybody's going to get something out of this. What was the last sentence of that article, Brian? What was the last sentence of that article?
This isn't just about Michael. It's about us. It's about our legacy. It's about the comeback in store for all of us, end quote.
That's what I've been, when we go back to our video where we talked about this, Are you kidding me? The Michael Jackson, the Jackson universe? You can't underplay this, because certainly Michael's the top. Michael is the epitome of entertainment, king of pop, whatever. The association to Michael, the people that were closest to Michael, there's their story as well. You talking about books? You talking about
Broadway? They said they licensed the musical. There's one coming, so they've already struck a deal, presumably on the back of this movie, doing big things.
There's a whole bunch of stuff. So Janet, everybody's looking like Janet. You messing with my money. That's what they're thinking. And our kids' money, If you don't want to get on this, get out. You know, do your own thing or whatever. Do it the way you always did. You know, you have control of your life. Do what you got to do. But for us, who didn't have the stardom or the star power that Michael had, this is our opportunity to cash in on that, yo. So I can understand, and plus that's Jermaine's kid doing this. You know what I'm saying? So if she's upset about his performance and had anything to say about him, he's gonna have something to say. So it would have been dope to be in that room just to watch the family dynamic.
Are you kidding me? I would pay more for that ticket than I'd pay for any ticket to see the actual movie. I just want to see the family part.
Apollo Creed.
Ding, ding.
So now, in fairness, just for context, Jermaine of the family has been the most directly involved in the production of the film. So he is not speaking just as family member. He is speaking as someone who was inside like Jafar's portrayal and Fuqua's direction. So he has a vested interest in this working. But you're right. I think he's basically calling out Janet for basically being like, your mind is too small. Like, you're thinking about this the wrong way. Like, who cares if the makeup is 5% off? That's not the point, right? It's like, so that's the interesting subplot. Now, this is not the only little tiff around portrayals that's come out of the family. So apparently there was also a bit of tension between Coleman Domingo and Paris Jackson about something in the portrayal of Domingo playing the father. So Domingo, quote, said he hopes that Paris Jackson will eventually love the upcoming biopic despite her distancing herself from the film.
Who's Paris Jackson again?
Which she's younger generation. So which family member is she tied to?
Isn't it Michael Jackson's kid?
Daughter of Michael Jackson and Debbie Rowe. Godparents are Elizabeth Taylor and Macaulay Culkin.
I'd be like, yo, you wasn't a part of this. You weren't around. Know your role. Shut your mouth and know your role.
Well, I don't think Coleman Domingo meant disrespect either. That's the other thing. He's trying to say like, hey, I hope it honored the legacy of the father, but I don't know. As you say, she would be 2 generations removed. She found something about the betrayal off-putting and basically was like, nah,
Listen. There is no iteration of Joe Jackson that would be played with this dude was like the guy that you wish he was your father.
That's not the point of the character.
You know what I'm saying? So if you disliked him, he did his job.
Absolutely. Now, here's the thing. All of this is good for business, Pablo. Come on. If they had all given this a standing O and playing Kumbaya before the premiere, no. You want the Jackson family into each other about this because that's only going to make people want to go see it more. You couldn't have scripted this better.
But come on, man. It's easy money, man. That's what Jermaine and all them dudes that are probably struggling. I don't know if they're struggling, but whatever. This is more for them to divvy up. You know, so reality, come on, there's just so much here that they can use for their future and for their kids' future, whatever the case may be. But this is nothing but good stuff.
No, that's what I'm saying. When we get to red carpets now, like you've got fodder for the interviewers, people going to read into like who's standing where, what's the body language. All of this is good for the movie, man. This is not bad for the movie at all.
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
I mean, if Janet comes out and trashes this movie after it comes out, like people are going to go see it basically on that. They're going to go see it to see what she was talking about.
Yeah. And then she going to make her own movie and she going, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, there's no lose situation here, yo. Be mad all you want, but when the money start coming in, it'll be fine. Street Fighter. The onset look. I didn't get a chance. I saw halfway, I think. But what I've seen thus far, Brian, is certainly that they are bringing these characters to life. The colors, you can tell, are vivid. And I think people are going to come out for this. I don't know to what degree, but certainly there's going to be some fandom that's going to come out to see what they were able to do with this. And who wins between Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter?
I love it. I love that. I love that we are in, many years later, we have a year where both of them are out together and 6 months apart, and we get to compare and contrast. And, I think you love it because on this show, I think Pablo's in the Street Fighter camp. I'm in the Mortal Kombat camp in terms of which is going to be a bigger hit. And we'll see. And I think, but at the end of the day, we're rooting for both of them. And I think the biggest thing that the onset video, which you can find on YouTube, built upon the teaser, is this is another great test of how much do people want accuracy in their product? Because again, as anyone who's played the game knows, Street Fighter, the look of the characters, the special moves, the accessories, there is a layer of extravagance to that. And the Van Damme movie, among its many faults, shied away from that. This movie clearly is embracing that, right? So like when you go on set, you spend a lot of quality time with Cody Rhodes with his Guile hair. And like, it's ridiculous hair, but like that hair is spot on for the way the character is in the game. So if you want to see Cody Rhodes look like Guile from the game, they are giving that to you. And so that I think is the real fascination here is like, does that translate to something people really want to see? This is not about seeing Bruce Lee show you all the forms of martial arts with extreme precision and speed. This is about we're trying to make the moves and fights in the game come to life. And I think in the onset, it's not a full trailer, but you do see little clips and hints of the action where it's like, you can see that's what they're going for. That is what they're trying to do. But it is clearly a little lighter tone, just like the game was, than what Mortal Kombat is pitching to you. So it is not the same movie. You don't get the same feels, but it looked pretty cool. They did have, I thought, which was cool. So the original game designer is involved. So they showed him on set, kind of interacting, like, kind of almost like evaluating. He was actually, they had him playing Cody Rhodes in the game. He was kicking his ass. It was like, he was just doing stuff to him on screen. He's like, you want to play again? It's like, which is pretty funny. But yeah, so I just think like, this is going to be a really interesting year between He-Man, between movies like this idea of accuracy, costume accuracy, look accuracy, move accuracy. Is that box office gold?
And it'll tell us whether or not, and not to go off on a tangent, but how He-Man's portrayal and the look will have an effect on those people who went to go see this movie and what they will say about it. Because again, that seems to be the topic of discussion in terms of the negatives for this movie, for He-Man especially.
I think for He-Man, it's probably 3/4 of the discussion is really just how Galaxine looks as He-Man. Because everything else, you can quibble with the CGI or whatever like that, but you can't really quibble, again, with the accuracy to the show for almost everything you're seeing costume-wise. And I think we are seeing, as we discussed with the Mortal Kombat trailer, they are trying to do something similar in the sense of they dispensed with the Louis Tan character seemingly, and they basically are like, okay, tournament. We got to do the thing the game was famous for. And now you see Street Fighter, we don't have as good a sense of story, but the little bits and snippets we're getting, again, everyone looks like their on-screen character. The wire work seemingly is aimed at trying to replicate the moves you would have done in the arcade. And like, again, I'm fascinated. I'm rooting for all of these. I'm just fascinated to see whether these are big enough to grip the audience. It's like, that's cool. I need to go see that or not.
Yeah. Rod Roddenberry teases big changes to Star Trek under Skydance. And Brian, we talked about this some time ago regarding Star Trek and what it needed to be, how it needed to move forward. Brian, what's next?
Well, I'm watching like a hawk for any signs of the Ellison hand and like what that's going to look like for all this IP, DC included. So I put this on our list in part for that. I care about Star Trek, but I really care about it as a sign of things to come. So Rod Roddenberry, obviously child of the late Gene Roddenberry, they were acquired as part of the Skydance Paramount deal. So they're already going through the experience. And Roddenberry made some statements at the Saturn Awards talking about his impression of the new leadership. Now, he had a positive view, but he said he felt the heart of Star Trek always lies in the storytelling that entertains but tackles meaningful themes. And he said, based upon what he's seen from the new leadership, he thinks they understand and respect the unique value, but that he expects that leadership to do a full shakeup of the franchise, top to bottom. So he said, I'm a big fan of change, and maybe not change for the sake of change, but dare I say disruptive change for the better. And I do think with this new regime, things will get better, end quote. So that's a positive spin, but note that phraseology, right? Disruptive change, right? He's saying they are in the house, top to bottom, remaking this from the ground up in a matter of months after having completed Skydance Paramount. Again, if that's what they're doing to Star Trek, and that's what they did to the Sheridan-verse, how is that not going to be DC's reality in some form when they get around to it? I will say, I randomly always have through two phases where I do some rewatches of like Next Gen and stuff like that. I still love that show. And I still think it amazes me. It amazes me that show 30 some odd years ago somewhat predicted as many things as it did about things that came to pass. Like if you look at the little technologies they use versus the ones we have today, I mean, like they literally have iPads and touch screens and, you know, on screen is FaceTime and Zoom. Like there's a lot of these little things where if you just pay attention, it's like, wow, Gene Roddenberry's mind foresaw a number of things that actually came to pass in society, even as his big vision, which was a utopian society of no money, that we're a long way from. But a lot of the little themes, they're right. I mean, that Star Trek was always very good and poignant about sort of anticipating and focusing on that. And I do think the Kurtzman Abrams iteration became a much more sort of action centric, gritty version that I think a lot of fans are now kind of yearning for. Can we get back to exploration and true futuristic, and that same idea of, okay, use the show as a vehicle to try to predict what the world might look like 300, 400, 600 years from now. So anyway, he's at least pitching you the upside of Paramount, the new Paramount.
Again, I was never a huge Star Trek fan. I had watched many episodes, but never really was a true fan of them. I've seen the movies as well, and I was a fan of some of the stuff that they did there. But as far as I'll be curious to see what new changes or the big changes that he's referring to for this. But we'll have to wait and see. Netflix, Man on Fire trailer, Brian. What did you think of that trailer? And is this the new guy, the new leading man? How do you pronounce his name?
Yahya Abdul-Mateen, the second.
He was on the Get Down. That was the first one. That was the first time I saw him. Now he's getting big stuff. And he's the leading guy in Man on Fire. And recently I saw the trailer and I'm like, I cannot wait. When does this come out?
I believe they said it's April 30th. So it's right around the corner. Didn't even know this was happening. And had no idea until I saw this teaser. I was like, what? They did an adaptation with Yahya Abdul-Mateen? So obviously Denzel did this memorably in a very, very cool Tony Scott movie 20 years ago. This is based on a book series, interestingly, which I was not aware. I didn't know I didn't know it was a series. It's a 5-book run by A.J.
But
Quinnell.
even Denzel's movie was a remake of an original one, right?
That's correct.
Yes.
Was it Scott Glenn? Was he the original Man on Fire? It's somebody like that. It's from like the 80s. But you're right. It was a remake. This is an 8-episode series with Yahya as Creasy, the character that Denzel made famous, right? Obviously a special forces operative who has PTSD. They've changed the backdrop. I think this series is in Rio, whereas the Denzel movie, I believe, was in Mexico. And you got a couple of notables involved. So like Stephen Capel, who did the second Creed movie, Transformers Rise of the Beast, he's involved in the production of this movie. You've got the showrunner for Pablo Schreiber's Halo series, Kyle Killen, is involved with this. This looks good. I mean, this looks high production value. This looks like a good choice by Yahya. Like, this is one of those where I was like, oh, he chose a role that I think he can really make work and make it be not Denzel, but still very cool. And we talk about the next guys. We talk about Aaron Pierre. Like, he's already, I would say Yahya is kind of already like at the cusp, right? This guy has been nominated for an Oscar. He's won an Emmy. Like, he does have the pedigree already. The only thing we're waiting for is, I'm not counting Aquaman in this, we're waiting for him as the top of the call sheet for something mega. That's kind of the one thing, like franchise, or just sort of, wins a ton of awards, or, a Sinners type hit. Like, we're waiting for that one piece to his resume, but he's got all the tools. And this looks like a pretty good showcase for him as an action star. So I can't wait to watch this.
Yeah. It was Scott Glenn. This was a 1987 film.
Yeah, it was Scott Glenn. Okay.
Yeah.
That was it.
So yeah, can't wait for that. Cannot wait for that. And the fact that we can binge it, even better.
Yeah, this does feel like the kind of thing you're going to watch 3 or 4 of them in a row. Yeah.
Hells yeah. What's next? Universal extends theatrical windows. What was it before?
Well, they came under fire because I think they'd historically been running pretty short. I think they're, since the pandemic, their windows were 17 days for films that opened below 50 million at the box office, or 31 days for films that opened above it. Now they are saying they're going to guarantee a minimum of 5 weekends, so that would be 31 days, of exclusive play for all new films this year. And then that will grow to 45 days starting in January of next year. That would bring them in line with what the new Paramount and WB is claiming they will do. Disney retains the longest theoretical window, which they will run 60 days, depending on, for some of their bigger projects. So a win for theaters. Now, I would say, look, I mean, the Odyssey was going to get longer than that anyway, right? Like, some movie like that, Universal's not going to stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like so maybe one of the fallouts from the bidding for Warner Brothers in the short term might be a little more material for theaters. Like, more studios that are like, hey, I want to seem like I'm theater friendly. I want to do some theater friendly action. And Universal taking those steps.
Like, they could be good movies that don't make a lot of money, and they fall under that 15-day or 17-day window, whatever. Is it 15-day?
So it's 17 days. And what they were saying was 17 days was under 50 million. I'm sure there are clauses that allow either the theater or the studio to take a movie out depending on performance. Yeah. I mean,
yeah. Okay. I had made a prediction long time ago.
Prediction? Yes, prediction.
Regarding Super Mario Brothers, that it will make $1 billion.
The first
not
one.
Because, yes, the first one. Just not because of I thought the movie was going to be great, but because the amount of people that grew up with this, playing this, and we all have kids. How were we not going to go to the movies? And if it was decent, how were we not going to perhaps go again and take our families to see this? And it made $1 billion. Now Mario Galaxy is tracking for a massive box office opening. Brian, what have you read?
Speaking of Universal, because this is one of theirs. And these numbers, I think, they're going to go higher. I mean, to be quite honest. So the first movie that Pablo didn't see anyone else predicting that to be $1 billion hit when he started saying it. And so it wound up being 1.3, I think, by the time all was said and done. That movie wound up making $146 million in the U.S. in its first 3 days and $205 million in its first 5 days. Right now, the tracking for the second movie is for the first 3 days to be 145 to 160, so slightly higher. However, the first film, of course, smashed the final projections with what it actually did. So I think the suspicion here is, could this threaten 180, 200 in the U.S. in the first 3 days, given the popularity of the first? I think it's possible. I think you could see something. Now, Will it have the staying power of the first? That I don't know, because that'll depend on how much new stuff and how much fresh stuff they've come up with. But I think that first weekend, I think you're going to see the first enormous open of the year coming from them.
I think it will, in the sense that, when these games came out and each of them has something new, has something different that kept us wanting more and kept playing. And Galaxy is one of those titles that I remember playing just so I can beat it and discover all these things. So I think if they follow that same sort of method of giving you new stuff, new adventures, they have to translate that over to the movies as well. And if they do that, I think that interest will certainly be welcomed, and it will make the money I think it'll make.
Yeah, so I mean,
this is big.
Yeah, because I mean, you look at comparisons last year. So like Minecraft first 3 days was 163, Lilo and Stitch was 183. That's why I say 200 for this doesn't feel like that much of a stretch. It's interesting. The studio clearly believes Yoshi is the ace in the hole, because they've really held that character back. It was the character they teased at the end of the first one. There's really only the one shot of him using his tongue in the one trailer. They have really tried to keep that character hidden in terms of its role in this movie. So they're betting that Yoshi is kind of the ticket to really get kids and families to keep going back and say, you got to see what he's doing. You got to see what Yoshi's doing. So
toys.
Yeah, that type of stuff.
Toys, yeah.
When you look at the calendar, remember we talked about calendar. This is why I was making the point about, like, the studios have to look at the whole calendar now, not just look at summer, because we haven't even talked about Project Hail Mary, which is going to blow away its expectations because those reviews are off the charts.
Yeah.
But that's a March release, right? And that's Sinners Weekend. Mario is April 1st. Michael, April 24th. We ain't even gotten to the end of school, right? If Mario's going to do those numbers during the school year, I don't know why studios would ever be afraid to put a movie like this out when school's in session. Kids are going to find time. If they really want the family to go, it's going to happen. So you could have Project Hail Mary, we'll see what the numbers are. Let's call that, there's a world where that could make Martian money, which was like 500, 600 million. This movie's definitely going to make $1 billion, right? Mario. Michael could definitely be something. You could have $2 billion plus hits and a $500 million hit before you even get to May this year. You can sell anywhere in the calendar if you have the right product.
Absolutely. And just think about, like, if you were going to school and then that weekend you saw Super Mario Brothers, and then on Monday you're talking to all your friends about what?
What are you going to talk about?
What we're watching, Brian. What are you watching?
So I started just to kind of flag some things that are new and out there. So I watched the first episode of season 2 of One Piece. So I know that's not one that I like, not one that Pablo likes. Reviews are perfect, literally perfect.
Wow.
100 over 100 for season 2.
Wow.
Audience response so far is tracking 96 for season 2.
Wow.
I will say, if you enjoy the first season, second season starts off with a bang. I mean, you get kind of everything you want from this show, where you get the characters that are accurate to the anime. You do get the very vibrant colors and, somewhat extravagant costumes. You get a pretty fun set piece toward the end with, good wire work and effects. And, as I say, and I keep saying this because I think as I think about anything from whatever's going to happen with DC to Star Trek to X-Men, the lifeblood of the show is still that they cast their main crew well. You can get away with so much. These are not A-list names, but they found 5 young people who clearly, at least in interviews, genuinely like being around each other and fit these parts well and play them the way I think they're meant to be played. And it's notable that this is another situation where the creator of the anime is in the room steering this show and basically helping Netflix edit the enormous catalog of episodes down to how do we make it a season. And I think after Netflix had the Cowboy Bebop thing go completely sideways on them, where everyone hated that and trashed it, it feels like they went back to the drawing board on how to do these. And one of their solutions is, okay, the guy who engineered it probably has to be involved and have a good amount of say in how to adapt the material. And the results here at least have been mega. So if you liked season 1, like I said, I'm only one episode in. I only watched the premiere. But season 2, I think, is off to a great start, and I can't wait to watch more. If you didn't, it's not for you. I get it, because there's definitely some you got to bend your mind a little bit to get with some of what they show you on screen. But I think it's very fun and enjoyable.
Yeah, I've been watching Paradise.
Yeah, I watched that show.
Yeah. Me and my wife have been watching that.
Did you watch season? I take it you watched season 1. Did you watch it at the time?
Yeah.
Okay,
We watched it every week.
How are you liking season 2 then versus season 1?
I like where the direction is going. Certainly, I'm interested in seeing how, because eventually they all end up back at the bunker, and so we're seeing these journeys that are being taken by certain individuals, and I'm curious to see how. I like the way they set everything up. They give us backstory. They give us everything is done really, really well. And there's always a surprise with certain characters that you see. So what they're doing is just, I think, excellent. The only thing is I'm waiting for the trap version of the music. Because that music is just the same one
the
all
same
the time.
Theme that they use all the time, all the variants. I mean, that's delivered though, because I feel like the music basically is 2 things. It's a variant of the one theme, and then they always use the cover for some pop song right at the end. So the 2 things I like about this, so we watched the show as well. The 2 things I will say that I think I liked were, I like that season 2 is not attempting to recreate season 1. Season 1 was very much an in the bunker season,
absolutely,
right? And so I like the fact that season 2 was, hey, let's go outside. Let's not live in Colorado the whole time. And the other thing that's keeping me interested, to be honest, is that Dan Fogelman, who created This Is Us and created this show, has publicly said there's an ending with season 3. This was meant and pitched as a 3-season show with an ending that we knew where the ending was going to be when we started it. That is keeping me interested and feeling like, okay, we'll see how good an ending you came up with, but at least I feel like you didn't just take us outside for no reason. You did it because you're going to have something you want to bring back together by the end of this. So I am here for this show, and I would agree with you. I'd recommend it. And I think, honestly, I was a little nervous about this season, but I so far I've been pleasantly surprised. So
that brings me to that show on Netflix with the aliens, 3 worlds, 3. You know what I'm talking about?
3 Body Problem.
Yes. Has there been any update for that?
So that one did not. That's a Benioff and Weiss creation, the Game of Thrones guys.
Mm-hmm.
That was not the hit that Netflix hoped it was going to be, because the book series is a phenomenon, and they put a lot of money into the show. And the show is uneven. I watched it. I would keep watching it. It is out there. Supposedly the books are out there too. The word is Netflix is willing to continue it, but wants to cut the episode count, maybe because of the cost. And so the struggle might be, so I don't know if you remember in the Terminator Zero, when they canceled it, Mattson Tomlin said they gave him an option to wrap up the show with like 3 episodes or 4 episodes, and he turned it down because he was like, what's the point? I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
So the issue with this show, supposedly a season 2 is happening, but it may be shorter, and I don't know if Benioff and Weiss are like okay with that or what's going on with that. But yeah, that's kind of where that one stands, and that's why you haven't heard much about it.
Yeah, that was an interesting one that we were watching.
It was,
and we also started watching Monarch.
I didn't hate it. I just know that it didn't resonate the way that Netflix thought. So.
Have you watched Monarch?
Well, just the first episode. I haven't watched the second one yet.
Yeah.
I gave my report on that. I like the first episode, and I, like I said, I like the production value, and I like the way the monsters act in that show. I like that. So I'm still a fan. I heard there. Well, by the way, speaking of, we haven't done supposedly we're getting a couple of key trailers shortly. But one of the trailers that's supposedly dropping within the next month is Godzilla -0. So that I could not wait to see what that's
My
about.
wife's watched it for the first time probably like a month ago, a few weeks ago, and she really enjoyed it as well. I mean, it's a great movie. It's a great movie.
The one good thing I've heard about this story, which I'm hoping is true, is that he's still bad.
Okay.
Congratulations. Because every other iteration of these, he becomes good by the second one, right? So it's like, so the rumor is he regenerates bigger, angrier, and more fearsome, but intent on destroying Japan again. Like that's actually a good subversion of expectation. If he is in fact still, a destructive force, not there to protect Japan.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's going to be very, very interesting to watch. But yeah, let us know in the comment section below. This has been The Void, Doomsday, not a cameo fest. Okay, let's see. The Michael thing is just fascinating.
That was the story of the week. That was the story of the week.
Absolutely. Street Fighter. I think this is going to be very interesting, Brian, when it does come out in terms of how they portray these characters and what they're able to do in them. Star Trek, Rod Roddenberry teases big changes, and I think Star Trek fans are certainly interested in seeing what that means. Man on Fire on Netflix, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. This looks to be very, very entertaining in his performance. I want to see that performance, and I'm looking to see what this show is going to be with that performance that he does. The Universal extends theatrical windows. I mean, we're gonna be the amount of content that we're gonna be getting, man, is just out there. And so, yes, slowly but surely, I'll consider getting that A+ subscription, A-list subscription. Mario Galaxy, man, I'm telling you, if they keep that momentum of giving us something different each go around, this can be something that we see every 2 years or so, Brian, because it's just gonna keep getting bigger and bigger. And yeah, definitely. If you're not watching Paradise, I don't watch One Piece. Not because I couldn't get into it. I didn't.
I don't blame you. You have to suspend disbelief or have loved the anime, which I didn't. I've found this through the live action, and then I watched some of the anime after season 1. But that's how I came at it.
Yeah. So definitely check those out. And In the Gray.
Oh, forgot. Yeah, speaking of trailers, quickly, let's do it.
Guy Ritchie has this movie coming out called In the Gray with Henry Cavill, Jake Gyllenhaal. Who else is in this?
Ida Gonzalez is the female.
Yes. Doesn't look bad for a Wonder Woman. Does not look bad for a Wonder Woman. And there's some other names in that film.
Yeah.
That are notable. What did you think, Brian, when you saw it? Because I saw it yesterday. I was like, yo, what's this? And then I was like,
May. Yeah, it's coming in May. I think some of it is, how do you feel about Ritchie as a filmmaker, right? He's not perfect, but he has a style. There's dating back all the way back, right, to like the stuff he did in the 90s. There's something you expect from him. And if you like that, this movie feels like it's very much up your alley. I don't know. Did you ever wind up seeing Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare when that came out? What was it, last year, the year before?
Yes.
So, which I enjoyed.
I enjoyed it.
I thought Cavill was good in that. I thought Alan Ritchson was good in that. Like, I thought that was a well-done film. It was I know he stole from Guns of Navarone, which was a great film with Gregory Peck back in the 70s. But I really enjoy that. I think this looks fun. He understands Henry Cavill. I will say that. And Cavill is smart enough that he always keeps going back to work with him. Mm-hmm. Because every time I see Cavill in a Guy Ritchie production, I feel like I'm getting the best version of him. And he looks excellent. So in Ministry, he's like very kind of rough and tumble, right? In this one, he seems very suave. But in both cases, he seems like his charisma is turned up. And it seems like he's getting something out of Jake Gyllenhaal here that's a little different than I'm used to seeing. So I'm in for that. I'm excited. I agree with you. This dropped out of nowhere, and I was like, what is that? But the thing is, they pitched it well. They were just like, Cavill, Gyllenhaal, Guy Ritchie. All right, I'll click on that. Now you got my money.
Yeah, absolutely. Am I assuming correctly? Carlos Bardem is Javier Bardem's brother?
That's a great question. That name seems conspicuous. Let's go take a quick look.
Yeah, that's his brother.
He is the brother. You are correct.
Interesting. Yeah, I can't wait for this movie, man. I can't wait for this movie. In the Gray. If you haven't seen the trailer, definitely go check it out. Once again, remember to hit that like and subscribe. Comment in the comment section below with your comments, and let us know what you guys think of all of these topics. And remember, if you haven't heard it anywhere else, you heard it here first on the Nerd Gen Report.